All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 137 of the Fantasy Timeline, a proud member of the Dynasty Addicts Podcast Network. I'm Josh at Real Fantasy TL, and we got a special co-host tonight. It is my main man. I have not said that in such a long time. Bill at Super Duper Flex. Bill, how you doing, man?
Doing well, brother. Thanks for the invite. It's been a minute, so I might be out of practice for the fantasy football chat, but definitely digging back into the leagues. We were just talking about you're in a startup. I, too, am in a startup right now, so definitely getting the juices flowing again and looking forward to our chat this evening.
So we were chit chatting about mine. Let's give maybe 5 minutes about yours. What does this league look like? How many teams? What's the setup?
Sure, it's the Hot Sauce Listener League.
All right.
And it is 14-teamer, super flex. There's bonus points for 40-yard plus plays, tight end, pretty heavy tight end premium, and also the rookie picks for 2023. The first round picks for 2023 and 2024 are in the draft.
Yeah, I know those guys do that, and
that's kind of fun. It's different, So Stevie D,
okay,
he went Pitts in the first round and then picked all 23 first rounders after that. So I think he's got like 5 or 6 first rounders for next year. So that's a fun build.
That is, especially kind of like not knowing,
Yeah,
like
so there's
it could be the top 5 teams. I mean, it's probably very highly unlikely, but could literally be the last 5.
Right.
That's crazy. So, that's cool though.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun, and it's kind of fun because we're about, I think, 8 rounds in. You can kind of start to feel like the direction people are going to go. So what's really interesting is when do you start picking the 24 firsts, and because you can kind of get a better gauge for these teams, and maybe there's a team who has a bunch of old players and you want to grab their first round for 24 because they might be, have a bad 2023 season. So there's a little bit of extra, fun strategy with that. So I ended up with the 101. So, it's a long wait when you pick on the turn, and you got to wait 26 picks before it gets back to you. So, it's you kind of got to stretch a little bit on some of your picks and or trade up, or back or whatever. But it's been a pretty fun startup. So it's going really slow. We started about 10 days ago. We're in this 8th round.
It's actually pretty funny because I think Rocky is in that draft as well.
Mm.
And he kind of keeps comparing times between ours and the Hot Sauce, because I think you guys started 3 days before Junkies 2 started, because we started last Monday.
Okay, we started on Saturday morning.
All right, so a couple days before us. And what round are you guys in right now?
7-11 is what we're waiting on.
All right, and we are, I think it's 11:04 right now. 11:05, excuse me. So
was that 3.5 rounds and 2 less days. So it's been a slow one. We've had a lot of people pushing that 8-hour timer, and I mean, Rocky was in Disney, so it took him some time to respond to it's just everybody is getting caught up, the holiday in the States, and then we got people internationally, and so there's those time zones that always slow things down, and but whatever. It's been fun, but it's definitely a test in patience. And I feel being more of a veteran now, my patience is much more dialed in, so I don't get angry or antsy or any of that kind of stuff. Or you're not gonna force me into making a bad trade just because I want the clock,
right?
Where I might have done that first or second year into Dynasty. So
And it's so funny because actually I can poke fun at them because just for people watching, I will definitely be on Junkies tomorrow. Drew is doing some stuff with his family right now, so he may or may not be on. That's why he's not on tonight. But yeah, we're gonna be on there tomorrow, so I'll make fun. Rocky almost timed out because he was traveling back from Disney World today, so he was in the air and driving around, and
pay that $9.99 for that Wi-Fi on the plane.
That dude, I'm telling you, man. I mean, listen, I even know some ways you can get that built somewhere else, and you never even have to worry about it again. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that offline.
I'm interested.
Yeah, I got ways, I got means, but it's funny. It cracks me up. We're talking about slow drafts here, and who's faster, who's slower. It doesn't really matter because, as you can see, let me hold it up. Let me do this thing. Got my Scott Fishbowl shirt, and hand up. What's going on?
I actually had my Scott Fishbowl shirt on from last year, and I had antipasto salad, and oil dropped right on the shirt, and I'm like, damn it! Like I had to change. So, yeah.
It's funny. We're definitely brothers because this had to be last year. I was wearing one of my SFB 10 shirts, and my wife is trying to make this traditional Puerto Rican dish, and there's a lot of grease, and she's just getting frustrated because she's like trying to make it. It's her first time making it, and I'm like, don't get frustrated. Like every time you've ever had it, like it's someone who's been making it for like their entire life.
Sure.
So like, don't get mad. This is your first time. And she was just like, I'm frustrated. I'm walking when you finish this up. I'm like, all right, sure, no problem. I literally go to pick up this giant piece of pork, and it slips off the big fork that I have it on right into the grease all over the shirt. I probably washed that shirt like 6 times before all the grease came out of it because it was literally just like a big thing everywhere. But back to SFB. It's so funny because we have the app and we can see, okay, Division 1 is, the slowest, and Division 42 is the quickest, and we're like, we're all laughing at each other, and people get some people get really mad about like, hey, what's blah blah blah, and they get real mad. It's funny because SFB 9, I didn't make it in, but I made I was in one of the satellites, and the day that the satellite draft started, my parents had come in from New York. My parents and my entire family, we were going to Camden Aquarium, which is probably about an hour and 20-ish minutes away from our house. So, it started. I'm driving there. I'm spending time with my kids. We do that whole thing, and then on the way back, we want to get some lunch, and we stop at a Cracker Barrel, and I just see people. Oh my God, this guy's now. I had the 12th pick, so I had back-to-back picks. Oh, this guy's gonna take the whole freaking clock in the first round, and I didn't get mad, even though I was like, come on, who cares?
Yeah.
Like I said, hey, spending time with my family. I'm gonna make my pick in like 10 minutes because I had just ordered, so it was gonna be a little bit. And everyone's like, oh, sorry, like didn't realize, and it's just like let's all just chill.
Yeah, life gets in our way anyway,
Yeah, let's all chill. A slow draft is slow for a reason. You calmly walk through. If someone times out, they get an auto pick, and it's probably not the person they wanted anyway. So that helps you out, unless it was someone you wanted, and then it kind of sucks for you. But like, you'll be fine. Like, there's other players. There are going to be other picks. Like, let's all just smile and laugh.
And it's for SFB, for the love of God.
Yeah, about especially SFB, but really any startup. Kind of like you were saying, like don't let someone wants to take 7 of the 8-hour clock. Like, let them. Like, that's like 7 hours that you don't have anything to worry about. Like, maybe you threw a trade out there and you're wondering if the guy's going to accept your trade. But like besides that, you don't have anything going on. Enjoy it. Do whatever you want. So that's kind of my PSA for today. But Bill, there was like no news. There's no news.
Until
Nothing. And usually, and you know, because you've done a million episodes on this day at this time, usually the news breaks tomorrow.
Correct.
And then we're like, great. Now we got to wait a whole week. Everybody and their mother has talked about it. We're just regurgitating stuff.
Yep.
But the NFL gods, they shone down on our podcast. Oh, I like it. The high pitch wailings from the Angels.
Tone deaf, high pitch.
Baker Mayfield goes to the Carolina Panthers. He's a Panther. And now the Panthers QB room is Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and Matt Golden Corral. That's the quarterback room, and you've probably seen all the jokes. They should go out and get Rosen now and kind of complete the 2018 QB draft. Blah blah blah. But I want to defer to you. You are the guest co-host. How do you feel about this move? What does this do for Baker, and what does this do for the parts around Baker in Carolina?
Yeah, it's hard to think it's going to be. I think that it's actually good for DJ Moore. I think it's bad for Robbie Anderson, just because I feel like Baker is just not accurate, and so my concern is okay, quick slant or something to DJ Moore. I think that's good. I think we should get excited about Tremble a little bit, but I'm not really sure. Baker's an adequate quarterback is maybe the way I would describe it.
I think he's an average quarterback. You could do much better than Baker, but you could also do much worse than Baker.
Yeah, I think he's in that 18 to 22 range, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
and so he's a guy that he's a starting NFL quarterback, but he's not going to be a guy who's ever going to be a fantasy winner for you, or he's just a guy that maybe is your QB2 that you're okay starting, but you're still looking for a replacement at some point.
Right.
So I don't necessarily think a lot's going to change for the team. I think that Darnold just was a failed experiment. It just hasn't worked with him. So I think that Baker's an upgrade in that regard. But I don't think it's such a massive upgrade that we're going to be really excited for, this offense is going to, it's going to take the next step or something like that. It's basically well, we had a hunk of shit and now we, it's just a hunk of coal, and it's,
right.
It's so I don't know. I think it's good for the offense. I think it's still going to be similar to what we've seen, CMC is going to get his, and DJ Moore is going to get, decent volume. And I'm just worried about anything that's beyond, intermediate routes. I'm not sure we're going to see quality there, but he seemed to and I don't know if it's the offense. I know it is part of the Browns offense where, with the tight ends, but I'd be more excited for Tremble now than I would Robbie Anderson for sure. Even if Robbie Anderson wasn't imploding himself, but
yeah, fair.
How about you?
You know what? This is I feel like this is a weird move from Carolina's perspective.
I agree.
And I get it.
And Cleveland's, honestly.
Cleveland had no outs.
Well, they had to just say, I'm sorry, let's do this because it'll be beneficial for both of us. You're going to get to play for a good team. You can showcase your talents. And we get somebody because Deshaun Watson is suspended.
Yeah,
that would have been the perfect situation, right? If they could have swallowed their pride.
Oh, yeah. I think the problem is that the Browns are the Browns, and no offense, lot of good people in Cleveland and the surrounding areas, but the Browns can make a good move and still completely mess it up because they could have went to Baker and said, "Look, Baker, we're in the Deshaun sweepstakes. We're gonna get you. We're gonna try our best to get you to a place that you want to be at after this is all wrapped up. You know, just work with us. We're gonna work with you." Instead, they were like, "No, Baker, you're a dude. We're not going after Deshaun Watson. It's all right." And then Deshaun Watson's on the team, and then they're like, "All right, well, uh, we're gonna trade you somewhere." And there were really only two options ever. It was Seattle and Carolina. I think both teams knew that, and they were like, "What are you gonna do? Like, we don't have to give you anything because you have two options. You either sit there and Baker kind of pulls a Deshaun where he sits out all season and you pay him all his money anyway, and he doesn't do anything, and then he just kind of walks out onto the market, probably with some kind of good publicity behind him because it's like, wow, you know, the Browns did him wrong. He sat out the whole season, so they were kind of stuck. They had to take whatever they could get. And, Baker, I think he gave back like $3.5 million, but he can make it back in incentives. And Cleveland still had to swallow $10 million of his contract. So, um, yeah, Cleveland just handled the whole thing wrong. But back to it's weird for Carolina because they kind of have a team, and obviously the head coach does not feel this way because his job is on the line. But Carolina kind of has a team that is like kind of a prime contender to tank it this year and get one of those top guys. And as much as the people who have been ragging on Baker Mayfield today, he's going to get him more wins than Sam Darnold. I mean, if you want to argue that point with me, you can at me because I can just tell you the 1,000 reasons why you're wrong about that. And I'm not saying he gets him enough wins to get into the playoffs because, I mean, I think New Orleans is a better team, and I think Tampa Bay is obviously a better team. So
but
even
two extra wins could be the difference between you getting one of those top quarterbacks or not.
And that's what I'm saying. Like 2 extra wins could be the difference between like 2 and 7. The second pick in the draft and the 7th pick in the draft.
Yep.
And the second pick probably gets you a quarterback. The 7th pick means you got to figure some stuff out on how you're going to get up to a top, 2 pick. So, it's very interesting how that's all going to shake out and break down. But obviously, I think this is good for DJ Moore. I've seen a lot of the people saying, we think this is going to be good for DJ Moore, but it wasn't good for Odell Beckham. I mean, cool, but those are 2 totally different wide receivers.
Totally.
Like, we're not talking about 2 guys that play the same way. And let's face it, say what you want about Baker, that's the best quarterback that DJ Moore has ever played with. Like, that's more of an indictment on everyone else who's come through town than it is building Baker up, but it's true. I mean, it was the ghost of Cam Newton. It was Teddy Bridgewater. It was Sam Darnold. It was like, geez, like it was a lot of bad quarterbacks. It's interesting about Tremble. I didn't really think about Tremble because I don't think about Tremble.
I don't either. It just I was driving home for the show, and that kind of just crossed my mind. So,
but you bring up a good point, and it's something and that's why I wanted to mention. I didn't think of this. I was thinking about it as you were saying it, and I was like, yeah, that could be good for Tommy Tremble. Like, and not good where it's like, draft him as a tight end 1.
Yeah.
But it's just like, hey, you're later in a draft, kind of like I am, it's a 2-point tight end premium. Maybe, he jumps on the board as your 3rd tight end late, or your fourth tight end if you're gonna, kind of pack on the tight ends. So, oh, here we go. Here's a good one. It's from Jesse. Jesse's is in Junkies 2 with Drew and I. DJ Moore will have 8 touchdowns this year, double his highest. Hey, I saw a lot of breakdowns that and the numbers may be 1 or 2 off here. I'm just remembering this off the top of my head. Carolina over the last 3 seasons have averaged 18 passing touchdowns a season. Baker Mayfield has averaged, I think it's 23 or 24 passing touchdowns a season. So, yeah, if we expect an increase in passing touchdowns and an increase, for DJ Moore, yeah, why not 8 touchdowns? Who there is really going to steal the touchdown? Maybe Christian McCaffrey, but I mean that's a whole nother question. Does he stay healthy? Does he not stay healthy? That you have to kind of fight with yourself on. But yeah, I like it. I like 8 touchdowns this year.
Yeah, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I mean, you got to think like for as many targets as DJ Moore gets, the amount of touchdowns he scores is probably on the low end anyway. So probably as expected is probably closer to 6 anyway. So I'm not sure. I mean, I would imagine it is. So adding a few extra. I mean, I could see. It's probably within that standard deviation of expectations. So, yeah, I dig it.
Plus, Jesse is high on the Panthers right now because he drafted DJ Moore and he drafted Baker before Baker became.
So this is all bias.
Okay. Yeah, it's all bias. It's not. No. But I mean, he's not it's not crazy. You know what I mean? 8 touchdowns, sure. Like it's totally within the realm of possibility. I like to poke a little fun at the fellas from the Junkies 2 in here, but yeah, I think you may not like Baker. You don't even have to say he's a good quarterback or an above average quarterback, but he's better than what they had. So good for Carolina, I guess. I mean, it's not the way I would have built this team, but
yeah, it's really weird. Like he made a lot more sense to Seattle. Really,
he did because you have Metcalf, you have Lockett, you have Noah Fant, like you have pieces that a average quarterback can use and kind of let the better pieces surrounding him kind of make him look a little bit better. But hey, it is what it is. So we got that bit of news, and I'm glad we got to talk about it, put our spin on it. Guess what? Don't even look around. Nobody else has said what we've said about this. So you got all breaking news here first. But Bill, I hope you're ready, man, because we're going to do what we used to do better than anybody used to do it. We're going to see what we saw on the timeline here. And this first one, I'm going to apologize in advance if I mess up the name. Alexandre Nobry at Zandin H 13988-317. The numbers. Bills, you know how I felt about the numbers, how I feel about the numbers.
Really well.
Thank you. Come on. Like we don't need your phone number, your social, whatever at the end. Just I'm pretty sure there's no Zandin H's out there. You could have just put, that and let it be. But I'll get off my soapbox. This is a dynasty half-point PPR. J.K. Dobbins and a 2024, second-round pick for Tony Pollard and a 2024 first-round pick. All right, before we read out what the percentages are, what do you think here, Bill? Are you on the J.K. Dobbins and 24 second, or are you saying give me that 24 first and Tony Pollard?
So I'm probably a little lower than most on Dobbins, just because my concern is that, like, yes, he's going to get volume, but is he going to get all the volume? Because, I mean, if Gus Edwards is there, he's averaged 5 yards per carry, so it's not like he's chopped liver. So And I do like Pollard. I actually have a pretty high share percentage of Pollard for my teams, but I think that just going with the guy who, you get a starting running back who has value that probably has insulated value just because he's coming off of an injury as well. Like, I think I have to go Dobbins in the second. You have plenty of time to replace the 24 first if you need to. I love Pollard. I think he's a good guy to have on your roster. He can be a flex for you, even with Zeke there. And if Zeke falls off falls off in performance, then we have Pollard who could maybe take a step up. But I just don't necessarily think that Pollard's ever going to see the volume that Dobbins will. But I am just worried that Dobbins is just a little overvalued based on he's not going to get a ton of receptions just because of the running quarterback with Lamar. So I think I still go Dobbins just because I feel like if things go bad this year, I could still move him for something. I could probably still move him for a 24 first, and so I think it's for me it's pretty easily the Dobbins side here.
Yeah, so breaking this down, you almost feel like the value is about even. The 24 first for Dobbins, okay, like that seems on par, and then a 24 second for Tony Pollard, which kind of seems on par. So it's kind of like when you break it down like that, it kind of seems even. But when I read this, I was like, man, this is J.K. Dobbins. There wasn't really much hesitation on my side. I'm a Cowboys fan, so I love Tony Pollard. I love what he does out there, but we bury Zeke any chance we get. And the dude is a running back one. And people go, well, it's because he plays 15 games a season. And it's like, well, cool, but I know he's going to play 15 games a season. Like, that's a good thing. That's not something that we should hold against him. Like, it's not going to always be pretty. It's sometimes going to be like 60 yards and a touchdown. And you're going to be like, oh, God, this was kind of gross, but it was 12 points that were necessary. Sometimes he has his big blow-up games, but that's coming kind of less regularly now. So, but Tony Pollard is like Lamar Miller to me, where I feel like as much as we want him to get, 80% of the snap share, I feel like we're not going to get the efficiency that you spoke of earlier if he's if he's on the field 8 out of every 10 plays, So I feel like he is very good, but there's also a lot of limitation and a lot of cap on him. So J.K. Dobbins, my biggest worry about J.K. Dobbins is the injury.
Yep.
And if he comes back, even if it's week 2 or week 3 this season before he's on the field playing, if he comes back and he hits the ground running, all right, cool. But if this is kind of a thing that lingers and he's not quite right, then it's like, But I don't think that's going to be the issue. It seems like Baltimore has really kind of said they're going to stay the course. They're going to wait till he's ready, and then they're going to put him out there. And at that point, he should be ready to go, ready to ride. And I think at that point, he's going to be very good. And you lose around the value, but there it is. But the percentages, 56% for Dobbins, 44% for the Pollard side. So kind of an even-ish trade, not exactly 50-50, but in the Twitter world, you get one side with 50-something and the other side with 40-something, you're usually kind of, it's kind of even. So
yeah, it's a likely trade.
Exactly.
You'll get accepted 4 out of 10 times.
Exactly. So, hey, if you're a big Pollard person, try this out and see what happens. And I also like the fact that 24 picks are being used because try to get yourself a 23 pick in a trade and see what happens.
I almost think like that's a good move. I mean, if because 23s are just like concrete right now, like you may as well see like what you can do, like maybe forecast where you think your team's going to be in a year or two, and maybe that's the way to play it. Just skip 23 and try to add some 24 firsts, or use those right now to help you win. And like I kind of like that thought because 23s are just so ludicrously priced at the moment. So.
And my thing is that I kind of like to use a little bait and switch when I make a trade offer. So maybe let's say I'm the Tony Pollard side and I make this offer to the J.K. Dobbins side. I might use 23rd picks in my first iteration of the trade offer. So I'll go, okay, Tony Pollard. I don't know where Tony Parker. I love them. Tony Pollard and a 23 first for J.K. Dobbins and a 23 second. And obviously that's going to, I'm not giving up a 23 first, man. Those things are worth their weight in gold. And then I go, all right, like fair. I understand. How about Tony Pollard, a 24 first and a 24 second? Because I almost like I lock you into your price of the 23 first by saying, well, that's way more, the 24 first and second doesn't even add up to the 23 first. And a lot of times people will kind of like they're mentally locked into that 23 first price that they look at a 24 first and second and they go, that's not even worth a 23 first. Okay. I'm actually giving up less, even though in reality, I feel like they're giving up more. I mean, yeah, you're waiting 2 years, but I love when people say you're waiting 2 years. They're just assets. Like I can trade that 24 first tomorrow for something else. Like that does not have to stay on my team for 2 years.
Right.
So that's kind of what I like doing. It works sometimes, it doesn't work other times, but like people get such I don't want to call it take lock because it's not really a take, but
they get anchored.
Yeah, they get anchored at that value. That's a good word, anchored at that value. And it shades their perspective of what kind of everything else should really be valued at. So something I like to do. Just a little tip for people's out there.
Yeah, or you offer, you do the 23 first or the 23 second and that, but then if they say, no, you could always go, oh no, never mind, disregard. I was gonna counter. I was gonna say just offer the 24 first, but still a 23 second.
Yeah.
But that's only if you're the one getting the 23 second. Not,
right.
Yeah.
But again, I think 20. I mean, I know a lot of people are saying this, but I say it as well because I think it's true. I think 23 seconds are where it's at. And I don't know how long they're going to be where it's at. Well, like 23 firsts are impossible. Like, let's face it. You have to massively overpay to get any of them. But a lot of people are still treating 23 seconds like nothing. Like they're kind of disposable. And it's like, all right, well, if we really feel the way we do about this class, let me pick up as many seconds as I can. Because if we're right, we're in a situation where, maybe I like somebody at 110. Well, I got 3 seconds now. I can package 2 of them and maybe move to 110, if one of them is high enough. There's a lot of it gives you a lot of flexibility besides actually making the pick. Or, somebody falls and you're in there with a high second round pick and you can take that guy that you really like that's falling. So I like it. I like it a lot. So yeah, if you like that trade, try to make it. Both of us went with the J.K. Dobbins in the 24 seconds. So Alexandria, I hope that helps. And we're going to move on to the next one. This is from FFRB Chick at FFRB Chick. So Scott Fishbowl 12 forces you to be weak at a position. In order, what are you willing to fade? And then she lists out, obviously, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. So I want to start this one and say, I don't think Scott Fishbowl forces you to be weak anywhere. I think it's all dependent on what your draft strategy is going in. I have a very specific draft strategy when I go into Scott Fishbowls. It's been successful for me. I haven't won a Scott Fishbowl, so I ain't been that successful. But I've been able to make the playoffs both years that I've been in there. And I was, top 80 last year? So, I mean, I did decent. I did all right for myself. But if I have to fade, if I'm going in saying I have to fade, right? The first position that I'm probably willing to fade is tight end. And I know there's a premium. But I feel like if I fade it, I'm going to grab like 3 of them. And last year I grabbed Mike Gesicki as my first tight end. He was all right. He was a top 12 tight end, and I got him. I can't remember now. I want to say I think it was the 9th round. So it's not even like I used a top 50 pick on him. This was a little bit later on in the draft. After that, it's probably wide receiver, just because. Bill, you've coined this phrase. There's a million of them. You can find them early, you can find them in the middle, and you can find them late. So I don't mind, because I know no matter where I am in the draft, if I really feel that I need a wide receiver, I can probably look at the board and I can probably, come up with a story. Like, I don't know where a guy like, Brandon Ayuk is going. But we can make a story, and I am not a Brandon Ayuk guy. I've made that clear. But we can come up with a story where, listen, last year Debo played every game. That's not Debo's track record. If he goes down, who's left? It's Brandon Ayuk and it's George Kittle. And we saw what happened his rookie year when Debo went down. Brandon Ayuk feasted. So if I can get that guy in the 7th or 8th round, okay, like. I could have a guy that, does some work for me. We could talk about Robert Woods potentially being the wide receiver 1 in Tennessee. Yeah. We could talk about Chase Claypool with a quarterback that, maybe has an arm that can actually get him the ball further than like 7 yards down the field. So there's a lot of guys in a lot of different spots. Third would be running back. I am not a 0 RB guy, but I think I have been turning myself more into a hero RB guy. Where last year I took JT in the 2nd round, and I don't even remember who the rest of my running backs were. I had guys, I filled spots, hit the waiver wire, all that jazz, but I got my hero in JT, and then I kind of let it ride. And then finally, quarterback. It's a super flex, but it's also based on completion percentage. Yep. So not only do you want good quarterbacks, but you want good quarterbacks that complete passes. We talked about Baker earlier. Baker's not one of those guys I want at SFB. I mean, maybe if he's QB3, okay, like he's the bye week fill-in. You hope your guys don't get injured and he has to play. But and that's a guy I actually took last year, because I just looked at this today, because I was like, man, I don't even remember what my draft looked like. This was a year ago. A lot has happened. I actually took Davis Mills in the last round as my QB4. I took Jared Goff as my QB3. That's another thing, is like I'm probably walking out of the draft with at least 4 quarterbacks, because they all go. And you're not getting any on the waiver wire. I mean, obviously, if someone goes down, but I mean, your backup options are going to be like, a Trevor Siemian, whoever the hell the
Kyle
backup,
Allen.
Kyle Allen, the ghost of Andy Dalton, Tyrod Taylor, and those guys, and I bet you at least half of those guys are going to be drafted, late, but they're going to be drafted because guys are going to be like, well, if Daniel Jones goes down or Jameis Winston goes down, this is the backup, and it's going to cost me all my fab if I want to get them. So that's kind of my order. My order is tight end, wide receiver, running back, quarterback. Bill, what about you? What's your order? You're a Scott Fishbowl veteran as well.
Yeah, I mean, so from what I understand, the rules are the same as last year. Is that correct? Yeah, I mean, I think it's like for wide receiver and tight end, if you can get the elite, then I'm totally cool grabbing those early. But if not, those are the ones I'm definitely letting slide. If I can get like Mark Andrews, Kelsey, maybe even like Kittle or Waller, like in that top 5 rounds or something like that. I don't even know what they go for anymore, but actually probably more earlier than that, I would guess. But like, I'm okay grabbing those. But if I'm not getting those, they're not getting drafted until the double-digit rounds almost. And just hammer the other positions, or because like when you get outside of the top like 6-7 wide receivers, like it's flat for like 40 or 50 wide receivers. Like they're all within a handful of points, and I would rather take my chance on volume running backs and and those super accurate quarterbacks early on. And I think that running backs, like, I'm definitely in like a redraft type of tournament. I think I focus more on the running backs than I would like in Dynasty. Like in my startup, I have 0 running backs or tight ends right now. So, I think running back and quarterback would definitely be my top 2 also. And I think early on I could see myself grabbing elite players, and then just kind of like you said, like hero wide receiver and tight end instead of running back.
There you go. I like that. And here I'm actually on the app, which I absolutely love. And let's see, I one of the live drafts, but the latest tight end one was taken around 1910. So
okay,
that's like, that's when you're creeping up at the end there.
Are you looking at the last draft specifically, or are you just looking at like the where they give you the
dashboard?
Gotcha.
But I'm trying to I'm kind of trying to look at some of the tight ends, just kind of the ADP. Kelsey looks like he is going high. Let's see here. I just want to see. Let's look for Mark Andrews. There you go. A guy like Mark Andrews. I'm actually wondering now. Oh no, this is giving me last year's information. So don't listen to anything I'm saying. But I saw someone who said, I think in a couple of live drafts, Mark Andrews went at 203 and 303. So that's kind of an interesting one. And I say this to people, especially people who are new. I don't even do mocks anymore. I did mocks my first year.
So not accurate.
And I went in, and listen, I understand people are trying out different things. People are looking at, but man, you get in there with 11 other people that you probably don't know. You don't know how they draft. You don't know what their process is. And man, there are plenty of points during a Scott Fishbowl draft where you go, whoa, what just happened here? I was not expecting this. How is this guy here, or how is this guy gone? It's just like, It's so much fun because it's literally organized chaos, and um, you know, you could look at a draft, and you know, someone takes Kirk Cousins in the first, and you can look at another division's draft, and Kirk Cousins is hanging around in the fifth. But it's just like there's no rhyme or reason. You have thousands of people with thousands of different strategies, things that they want to do. You know, some people are just like they're going all in on long shots because they think that the only way to win it is to just have a a lineup that no one else has. So yeah, it's fun. I like it, but there's no preparing for it. There really isn't. Like there, I don't do mocks anymore. I look at people's mocks and it's fun, but yeah, I don't. I did them the first year, and I walked in. I was like, I'm prepared. I did all these mocks, and then I walked in, and it started, and friend of the show, Zach Reed, my first year, was not only in my division, but he was right before me every pick. So I'm head to head with one of the smartest people that I've ever talked to in the fantasy space, and every time it's just like snipe, 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 and I'm just sitting here like nobody was sniping me during my draft.
Yeah.
I was getting every guy I wanted, and it was just like snipe, snipe, and um, it was funny. So yeah, hey, if people want to do mocks, I mean, mocks are always fun, but I just don't do them because I'm like, man, I'm gonna walk in there and I'm gonna have ideas about what's gonna happen, and none of that stuff is gonna happen, and I'm gonna be like, okay, um, but cool. Hey, let's do some more another Scott Fishbowl question because let's face it, it's Scott Fishbowl season. The Potathon is going to be on Saturday and Sunday. I don't even know how many hours Sal and the guys are going to do because let's face it, they're crazy, and they might do like 50 straight hours. Who knows? But the DAP network, we got a slot. We have a slot. It is 12:30 a.m. Eastern. So this is going to be, we would call it Saturday night, but if you're looking at the clock, it's technically Sunday morning. And we're all just going to kind of be in and out, just, doing our thing and chatting it up with those guys, probably carrying the show because they're going to be tired at that point. I don't know what time they're starting this year, but they're probably going to be exhausted. So we're going to try to yak and flap our gums a little bit to help those guys out. But obviously, the Potathon is so cool. They raised so much money last year. I wish I remember the number off the top of my head. But every year, the people in the community they try to outdo themselves, and obviously it's in a good way because everything is going to charity. It's going to Toys for Tots. So, and I love seeing the pictures afterwards where the different crews fan out and buy the toys. Like that's just so cool to see U-Haul trucks getting filled up with toys that are going to go to children and allow them to have a much more pleasant Christmas. It's going to be the 9th and the 10th, so this weekend. So if you're around, just please tune in for a little bit. Donate anything that you can. If you can't donate anything, just, hit a retweet on your Twitter, hit the heart. That stuff is free. Like you don't have to pay anything to hit retweet, and just get it out to as many people as possible. and just go and have a good time. There's so many smart people. Like you get the super intelligent people like Matthew Berry and so many others, and then you get the schmucks like me that just go on and speak nonsense for 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is. But yeah, do that. We're going to be on, I guess it would technically be the 10th at 12:30 a.m. Eastern time. So if you're around, come cut it up with us. Your favorite DAP network people are going to be in there doing their thing. But let's get back to our next one. I kind of got sidetracked with SFB and the Podathon. But this is from Mitch at the Commitch. If you were forced to wait until the 4th round to draft a QB in Scott Fishbowl 12, who would you target? And I was like, man, this is a really good question, and I don't know the answer. And before I get into this, I want to bring this up. Jesse, with a great idea, can always donate your time, volunteer. Super important. And you know what? It's not supposed to be about you, but anytime I've ever volunteered for anything, I've always felt a lot better about me while helping out people and charities that can really do it. So, yeah, volunteer. It's amazing, and you could be helping out so many people doing that. But back to who we're getting in the 4th round, right? Quarterback. We're just ducking, right? We're not doing quarterback. I couldn't do it. I don't have the intestinal fortitude to not take a quarterback. But I ran a mock, and I'm actually going to put the link for the mock in the description because I love the mock draft. I can't remember who comes up with it, so forgive me. Maybe Bill, while you're talking, I'll look that up so I can give out proper credit. But so the first 3 rounds, I used my pick. I'm picking 12th in my division, so I used my own pick. So the 112, I got Jamar Chase. The 201, I got Justin Jefferson. And then at the 301, with the 3rd round reversal, I got Kyle Pitts, which I was actually very surprised that Kyle Pitts was on the board. And he probably won't be, but this was the mock I ran. So in the 4th round, here are the quarterbacks that were available to me. Ryan Tannehill, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones were the top quarterbacks available. So, Bill, what would you do in this situation?
Yeah, so the scoring is really like you said earlier, completion percentage is like the big, most important stat for quarterbacks. I mean, obviously rushing as well, but I think I rule Trevor Lawrence out. So because I just feel like, and then I think that it goes to Fields, and I think I'm not certain I grab him. Like I would have to hope that both of those guys would have to take a huge jump, and in completion percentage and in just performance. Because it's, you get hit hard with interceptions, and the sacks is another one, right? Like that's another where you get hit pretty hard in SFB scoring. So I think I'm at Tanny or Mac Jones because they're both like 67% completion percentage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just go with Mac Jones because we're going to see, and that's probably for all 3 of those quarterbacks. Usually the biggest improvement is between year 1 and year 2. So you're already getting a quarterback who's completed 67% of his passes in his rookie year. It looks like they've added some additional potential pass catchers. So I think there's some positive signs for Mac Jones. I mean, is he going to be prolific? No, but at this point, you need to pick a quarterback that you can feel good about as your QB1. Is he going to be a starter all year? Is he going to, and I can't even necessarily answer that that's going to be the case for Tannehill. If he keeps going the way he went at the end of last season, I mean, he was looking pretty rough. And, if I'm betting, is he going to finish the whole season? Yes. But, there's a chance. I don't think there's a chance that anybody takes over for Mac Jones. So I think that he is my selection, which how crazy is it to think that 1 year, last year that would have been a laughable comment, but he proved that he can perform, in the league. And I mean, if you're picking your first quarterback in round 4, and it's in this particular situation, it's the end of round 4, I think you have to go with the safest option.
I agree with you because you can't put yourself in a position where you're hoping that Justin Fields can be a 66% passer with Darnell Mooney and Velus Jones and Cole Kmet and David Montgomery as like kind of the top passing options. He could be, but that's kind of that's a tall order. Same with Trevor Lawrence. I like his weapons more, but I mean, you read them out. It's Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, Travis Etienne, who we haven't seen on an NFL field yet, Dan Arnold, and Evan Ingram. Like, except for Kirk, none of those options really make you go, oh, okay, like that's good, So that's tough. So I'm with you. I take those two out of the equation. I love all the stuff you said about Mac Jones. What scares me about Mac Jones is while he did well, the weapons don't inspire a lot of confidence. And Josh McDaniel is in Vegas now, and there's some kind of weird, like, Joe Judge, Matt Patricia hybrid offensive coordinator, Hunger Games, shout out to my Capital Group, thing that those two guys are doing. So, like, I don't even know what the offense is going to look like. I mean, maybe it's just Josh McDaniel's playbook, and then they're not going to change anything, and they're just like, we're going to read out of this and pick plays. My pick would be Ryan Tannehill. I honestly don't think. I don't think he loses his job except for injury, obviously. Malik Willis was taken as a project. And I like Robert Woods. We'll see about Treylon Burks. He's a rookie, so that's always, boom bust kind of thing where he could be the guy, the one wide receiver that kind of blows up like we've seen the last couple of years, or he could just be an average run of the mill, kind of rookie year. Austin Hooper can play a little bit. He's not anything special, but he's got a little bit of ability out there. And then obviously King Henry, and that offense is kind of tailor made for Ryan Tannehill. It's kind of like, we're going to let the big guy run. We're going to play action some stuff. We're going to let you move around a little bit, and we're going to let you hit open guys. Now, A.J. Brown's not there. So that's the big kind of question mark for Tannehill. But I think he's the safest option. But honestly, whether you go Tannehill or you go Mac Jones, I think you're making a good decision. Like, this isn't a pick Ryan Tannehill because I think Mac Jones is not the right answer. I think there's just a couple more question marks with Mac Jones. That's why I would go Tannehill. But I wouldn't say, well, that guy made a bad pick. He took Mac Jones over Tannehill. You know what I mean? So it's not it's not anything like that. It's just kind of a different way of looking at it. But yeah, I like what you said, and this is the reason why I don't think I will wait until the fourth round to pick a quarterback, because these options, the question marks multiply as you get further and further into this thing. So
yeah, like Trevor Lawrence would be a great like second quarterback pick in my opinion. Like just because like I think as much as I kind of removed him from my calculation, he's the guy that I feel like could have the biggest jump in performance. And just because he's not as bad as he appeared last year. And I mean, it was just a shit show, right? Like, I mean, there was so much that was going against him last year. And to the fact they still threw for 3,600 yards. And, I mean, he obviously a lot of interceptions, but I mean, when you have no leadership, like what the hell's going on? So like he's an interesting one that I think, might drop a little bit, and I'd be totally fine grabbing him as my QB2. And then maybe my third quarterback be another high completion percentage, like veteran quarterback, Maybe you grab a Matt Ryan or something like that. Like, I don't even know if he has a high completion percentage, to be honest, but last year's wasn't a fair because he's in a new situation. So
yeah, and I think Matt Ryan is a guy I thought would be there in the fourth and actually wasn't. He's a guy that I think is a good SFB pick. I think he is a smart quarterback, and I think they're going to kind of build the offense around him not having to make dangerous plays. They have Jonathan Taylor. They have a good offensive line. They have Michael Pittman. It'll be very interesting to see what the tight end situation looks like now with Mo Alley Cox, and I believe Jelani Woods is on the team now. So that'll be
Granson.
Granson is still there, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And then obviously, you'll get your one game of Paris Campbell. RIP, I loved him so much. But yeah.
So Ryan was 67% completion last year with so I mean, and they're gonna theoretically they're gonna use him very similarly to Tannehill, right? Like he's gonna be the play action quarterback, and I feel like he's a better quarterback. So like I think and just has a lot more going for him with the offense. So he would be one if he does squeak to 4. I would be like definitely paying attention to him.
He will, if he's there at 4, he will make me regret my 2 out of the first 3 picks being quarterback.
Yeah.
But if he goes in the third round after I have that 301, I'm not going to regret it at all.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's one of those things, that I feel like it is hard to find quarterbacks that work well in the SFB settings, because you're either going to get a quarterback that's a little less accurate, or you're going to get a quarterback that runs a little bit less. Like finding kind of those, Josh Allen unicorns and Kyler Murray and those kind of guys. There's a reason why usually those guys are gone in the first round. So I like getting 2 with my first 3 picks, so that I know that, all right, unless, like my first year, I took Dak Prescott and he almost lost his entire foot, and that was fun to try to play around with that. But yeah, so Mitch, there you go. You're going to be looking at guys like Ryan Tannehill, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Mac Jones. At that point, I would target a guy like Ryan Tannehill. Bill would target a guy like Mac Jones, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking for those guys that are those 67% completion. You don't want to be losing points because you have a guy who is 60% completion, and you're losing, half points here, half points there, because you never know, especially if you're trying to get into the playoffs. Points matter. And if those half points keep adding up throughout the season, it could be the difference between you making the playoffs and you, just telling everybody about the fun season you had at Scott Fishbowl and kind of watching the standings with a lot of other people. So let's go to our last question. I'm actually glad that I have you on for this episode because fantasy football, it doesn't matter if it's Scott Fishbowl or redraft, best ball, keeper, dynasty, IDP, doesn't matter. Fantasy football is supposed to be about fun. So this is from Tony FF at It's Just Fantasy _. What's the best part about fantasy football? Bill, I'm gonna let you start us off. What is the best part about fantasy football?
I think it's just like I love the strategy of fantasy football. So I love talking about, what the trends are, what, that sort of thing. Just talking about like how do we have to adjust because of this, that, and the other. But like so that's a huge joy of mine. Like I've like one of my buddies works for me, and so we always are bouncing stuff off of each other, and that's just so much fun. So I'm gonna actually kind of redirect this, and that's more of what my favorite part is. It's the interaction with the other owners, and talking that sort of okay, we're completely different in our valuations. Well, here's why I think that. Well, okay, fine, but that's not what I think. And having good conversations and getting to know your league mates and there's so many people that I play in multiple leagues with, just because they're fun, good people to, that we would have never met before in our lives. And, just the whole community is just so, 80 or 90% of the community is just amazing. Right. And so that's pretty positive. So I think, if it's on a personal level, it's a strategy, but like if it's more, encompassing, I think it's just, the people I play with and, compete with and, the rivalries that we form.
Yeah. Mine is the people. Kind of piggybacking off what you said. I met you because of fantasy football.
Yep.
I met Drew because of fantasy football. Last season, I got to meet up with Shane Manila, Russ, Rocky because of fantasy football. Like, so many cool people, so many good people that I've been and the list goes on and on. I could be here literally all day talking about all the people that I've met playing fantasy football. It's fun. Like Jesse was in here, Corey was in here earlier. Two guys that I didn't really know until getting into the Junkies League. And you know what? Now I joke around with these guys. I mess with these guys. They mess with me. Like we have that camaraderie of just like being able to joke around with each other. Andrew's in here earlier. Like, it just like such a large list of people. And it like playing is fun. Like that's fun. And winning is obviously a lot of fun. And making trades is fun and doing all that stuff is fun. But like that camaraderie, man, it's like you said, I used to just get into leagues to be in leagues because I loved playing so much. And then I was lucky enough to get to a point where I only do leagues now if I like the people that are in it. Like it's funny because Rocky will ask me sometimes, hey, do you want to submit a team for Find Me a Trade? And I'm like, dude, you're in practically all my leagues. Like if I submit me a trade, it's not gonna be on the up and up. Because I like talking to Rocky, I like interacting with Rocky, I like playing with Rocky against Rocky. Like, and there's again a long list of people that I can say that about. So to
Like the
me,
FTC.
like the FTC. Oh man, the OG listener league, man, is just like it's so much fun, and all my leagues are just so much fun, and it's just so many good people. You don't get like the craziness, like you said, 80-90% of the community is good people. Like I don't have to worry about like entering a random league and interacting with like possibly that 10% that is just like not good. Like so yeah, people are great, and I love, this time of year, bring it back to Scott Fishbowl one more time on the way out, is like you get to see like so many people, like people I've never seen on Twitter before, who are just posting, "Hey, man, I got in the Scott Fishbowl. Like I'm in," and I love, if I see it, I put a heart, I send a congratulation gift, and you know, because like those are people who are like in there and like they're probably good people, you know, they've probably um, done something to catch Scott's eye, or maybe they won a contest or something, but it doesn't really matter. Like, and then you get your division chat, and you interact with, probably a bunch of people you've maybe never interacted before. Then you're in your pick chat, and you're interacting with all those people, and it's just like, oh man, like interacting with like just a bunch of good people. It's awesome. And then you see people who are donating, and that it's just, yeah, people. That's it. People. I can go on for another 20 minutes if you let me. And I'm not going to do that because that's not good podcasting. So we're both pretty much there. It's people. I mean, Bill, you've been playing fantasy a little bit longer than I have, and you
30
probably
years.
30 years. I'm at 20, this will be 21 for me.
Yeah, this will be a year 30.
So, I mean, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like I know I kind of got into it like as something for me and my friends to do.
Totally. Exactly.
And that's I think how a lot of people start. Sure, I'm sure some people start and they just go on ESPN or CBS or whatever, and they join a random league because there's not people around them that want to do it. But a lot of us, I think, started. It was friends, it was a family league, it was a work league. Maybe it was people you went to school with, whatever. It starts with people and then as you kind of, I mean, obviously you 30 years ago, me 21 years ago, um, there wasn't Twitter, there wasn't Reddit, there wasn't Snapchat or Instagram or all these ways that we can kind of link up with people and interact with people. So, your choices were kind of, you know, do your friends and family league or enter a random league on whatever platform you decided you wanted to use. But now it's like you can really kind of customize your experience. Listen, if you only want to play in two tight end leagues, like you can find a bunch of people that are playing in two tight end leagues. If you want to play IDP, you can find IDP leagues. If super flex, all of that. Like it's just like you just type into Twitter, like, hey, this or Reddit or whatever, and find it. So, it's a good day it's a good day to be alive if you're a fantasy football player. But Bill, it saddens me. It saddens me a lot. But we're at the end of the episode. So I want to thank you for coming on. I hit you up. I text you. I say, hey man, Drew's gonna be out doing some stuff. Would you like to come on? You were like, yeah man, I'll come on, no problem. And you came on. It was just like old times. I don't think we missed a beat. I guess once you do it enough times, it's like they say, it's like riding a bike. On the way out, just tell people where you're at, the handle, anything else that you're doing, so that they can so that they can follow you in everything that you do.
Yeah, brother, it was a good time. Definitely enjoy this, and appreciate it a little more, because we don't do it nearly as often. So, really, really pleasure. And so, yeah, I'm still at Super Dupaflex on Twitter, and not super active on it anymore. I definitely pay attention more to the chats that we're in, like FTC. So if you're not a member and you want to be, hit Josh, Bill, or Drew up, and we'll get you into it. Free, no charge, bunch of great people. So yeah, just really focusing on chats and league chats and that sort of thing, and then doing other projects. So outside of fantasy football. So I kind of miss it, but at the same time, it's still it makes it more that much sweeter when I do get to hang out and nerd out with my people. So and my tribe.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you being on here. Here, I'll shout out a pick here that just happened in Junkies too. Tyler Boyd with the 1105. Can I tell you something? And I don't do this, and there's a specific reason why I don't do this. It's all about psychology. But I'm going to make an exception here. I was really hoping Tyler Boyd would last 4 more picks until my pick, actually Drew and I's pick. But he's gone, and that's fine. And
time to move on.
I'll tell you, in a startup,
you get sniped so many times. It's like
I think Drew is starting to realize now that, like, literally, there's not a player on this, and I'm not even talking about now in the 11th round, first round too. There's not a player you can take off the board that is gonna move the needle that much. I mean, I'll get that little 5 seconds of
disappointment. Yeah, for sure.
And then I'm moved on. I'm like, okay, fine. You took
you took either Josh, trade for the guy or you just move on. Yep.
You took Josh Allen. All right, there's still 9 more quarterbacks I really like. You took Jonathan Taylor. All right, there's 7 more running backs that I really like. I mean, there's no person, like Tyler Boyd was like top of my list, and I thought it would have been a good wide receiver 4. I'm looking at this board, and I'm like, you know what? There's 2 guys I'm looking at right now that I'm like, won't mind having them on the team. And if they get wiped, I don't know what else is at wide receiver right now. But I'm looking at some running backs, and I'm going, should I take a 4th running back before a 4th wide receiver? Probably not. But if that's where the value's at,
I wouldn't even worry about it. Yep.
That's where the value's at. And that's actually why Drew and I have Nick Chubb and Joe Mixon right now. Is because the value was just there. I was like, all right, if you're gonna just give up value, like I'm gonna take value. Like I can't, I'm a sucker. But yeah, so I don't ever do that because I don't want people to gain insights into what a possible strategy might be while I'm in a startup. But I also don't, because now if let's say I'm contending, Drew and I are contending, but maybe maybe we've had a few wide receiver injuries. This is when someone has had this saved in the back of their mind. They're like, how about a 24 first for Tyler Boyd? Because they know that I said that I wish I'd been able to get Tyler Boyd, and then you walk into that trap sometimes. So I don't normally do it, but it was a good pick. I like the pick that was on the board, so I can't hate. I can't hate on that pick. But now that we're getting out of here, thank you to everybody in the chat. Chat was awesome. Jesse, Corey, we had Andrew Hall come in earlier to shout Bill out. I mean, big old Bill coming out of him. So I hope I see him tomorrow on Junkies. I'm not sure which iteration of the Junkies I'm going to get. So I hope he's there. But if not, Still love you anyway. Remember, if you're watching it, hit subscribe, hit the bell so that you know when we're coming on live, when the junkies are coming on live. Also, hit that thumbs up, thing, so that thing happens. Leave a comment. You can say, Bill's really smart. Josh is really dumb. Like, you can do that. That's fine. Who cares? I just want the comment. And then, listen, not everybody can make it Wednesday night at 9:00. People got jobs. People got families. People got other things going on. And you're listening to us. So that means you've hit up the podcast and you've listened for almost an hour and 20 minutes. And that's a long time. And appreciate that, because you could be doing anything else and you decided to spend that time with us. So remember, if you just accidentally fell into the podcast, or maybe somebody suggested it and you like what you hear, hit subscribe. If you could do the rate and review thing on your podcast directory, do that too, because that helps us out. And Bill, we get to do this, man. We are out of here.
Late.